Dear Diary, our unbeaten streak has continued off the back of those 4 big wins we picked up around the start of the year, going all the way back to a penalty loss in the Cup in October, so we might be able to lock up the Premiership title before the Championship group phase begins. So that's ace. Our next few games are focused on some Cup competitions though, as we look to make this a very successful season at Linfield. First up, we take on Dunfermline Athletic in the Challenge Cup semis. They are over from League 1 in Scotland, and if we win this, we take on Partick Thistle in the final. Off the back of that, it's a chance to claim our first trophy of the season in the League Cup final versus Larne. They've been a bit mid so far this season, but did beat us on penalties in that last loss all the way back in October. Hopefully, we can get our hands on some silverware soon. Until next time. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 29 of FMOE here on Shaun Does FM with Linfield. I hope you are doing well, and coming up today, it is a cup double. First off, we take on Dunfermline Athletic from Scottish League 1 in the Challenge Cup, and off the back of that, it's our chance to claim our first trophy of the season here at Linfield, our first as manager of our new club, as we take on Larne in the Northern Irish League Cup final. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. So we've played a fair bit of football in game off the back of where we did leave things at the end of last week. If you missed that most recent episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. It's fair to say we've put ourselves in a very, very good position here in Season 1 at Linfield. We left off with that 2-1 win against Glentoran with 10 men for an hour of that game. So it was a very tough victory from the guys there to keep a very good streak going. And off the back of that, we have maintained that streak ever since. A lot of games in there you would have been expecting us to win. The one game that we did draw was away at Glenavon, and even then we did need a 90th minute penalty to get out of that one with a point. But apart from that, it has been very, very good stuff here at Linfield, and hopefully we can continue that in our next couple of games in these cup competitions before we do have a little bit of a break prior to those last 4 games of the league season, as well as an Irish Cup quarter-final against Institute. They are a team who we took on all the way back, I think, in the first season of this save, because they are down in the 3rd tier of Northern Irish football, so it does look like we might go quite deep in the Irish Cup as well. But coming up today, first up, it is the Challenge Cup. That was the competition which was mainly made up of teams from Scotland. Also had a few in there from Wales as well, but we are the only team from outside of Scotland still left in this competition, and hopefully we can make the final, because we are taking on a team from League 1 in Scotland. We have beaten Championship teams a couple of times so far in this competition this season, so you'd like to think, especially at home, this is our first home game that we have had in this competition, that we can get the job done over Dunfermline Athletic. And off the back of that, we would be taking on Partick Thistle in the final. They probably did us a bit of a favour there, beating Celtic B in the other semi-final, because I dare say Celtic B might have been a little bit tough with some of the players that they could have put in that team from the first team if they needed some game time. So thankfully, it might actually end up being a final that if we make it, we are capable of winning. But taking on a team from League 1, I'd like to think that this is a pretty winnable game for us, even though reputation-wise, they are a club of the same stature of us, currently second in that league. But earlier on in this competition, we did beat a team who was second in the championship. So I'd like to think this is a pretty winnable game for us. First up at Windsor Park, and off the back of that, it's a trip across town to our rival stadium, the usual home of Glentoran, because it is a neutral venue for the League Cup final, where we take on Larne, a team who are still a little bit up and down so far domestically this season, off the back of making the league phase of the Conference League. They are currently in 8th, still have those games in hand, but certainly not enough games in hand to try and catch us up on the league table here at Linfield. But definitely a team that does need respecting. We are yet to beat them so far in a game this season. It's been draws, and the last time we played them in a cup competition, it was in the quarterfinal of the County Antrim Shield, and that was the last time that we technically suffered a defeat, even though it was on penalties after a 0-0 draw. So it's been a long time since we have played these guys. We've got 2 games against them to round off our league season. Hopefully we can take some confidence into those games and pick up our first trophy of the season. Obviously, since we last played them, they've been very, very up and down, and also do have a new manager in charge. In terms of us going in to these games, the first one anyway, we're going to take a little bit of a risk. I think this is the opposition who might be the weaker of the two that we take on in today's episode. So because of that, we have done a little bit of rotation for this first game of the episode. We've got a few players out for this one. Chris Shields is out with suspension, so that does mean that Kyle McLean does come in to the midfield for him. And as well as that, we are going to try and rest some players on yellow cards in this competition so that if we do make the final, which I do expect us to do with this semi-final being at home, that they will be available even if they do pick up another yellow card. So we're going to rest both Niall Quinn and Powdy O'Connor. What that does mean is that Connor Pepper will play at right back and Kemi Logan will play at left back. And to partner Niall Logue at centre back, it is going to be Jimmy Callagher getting some game time before he does retire at the end of it this season. But apart from that, it still does look like a pretty strong squad that we are putting out for this Challenge Cup semi-final. Hopefully we can get the job done against this team from Scottish League One, and we'll come back shortly with the action from the first game of today's episode as we take on Dunfermline Athletic from Windsor Park. And we've got a highlight immediately from the kickoff in this one. It is Dunfermline Athletic who have kicked things off here. I might start to call them just Dunfermline, otherwise I'm going to get my tongue twisted a lot during today's episode. But they are in the all white. We are in our home uniform of the blue with the white shorts. They are playing a 5-2-3, so they are going quite defensive for this one, but hopefully we can break it down and we eventually get the ball off them there off the back of what was looking like a potentially quite threatening opening highlight in their favour. But now we try and get something going here down our right hand side, and Stephen Fallon will pick out Robbie McDade, and what a start that is. 47 seconds into the semi-final and we grab a 1-0 lead here at home. That is exactly the start that we wanted. And if we can get on top of these guys early, maybe we can rest some of our better players for that League Cup final in the second half. That would be the ideal situation, but we can think about that now off the back of a great start, less than 1 minute in, and we grab a 1-0 lead. And just shy of the 20-minute mark, we have our next highlight in this one. It is a free kick inside our own half, but Pepper will pump this one deep again, looking for McDade. He tries to chip that over the goalkeeper. Just a little bit too much on it. Actually thought that was going a bit further past the post than it was. It had to take a clip of it in the end, but unfortunately still doesn't find the back of the net, so the scoreline does remain at 1-0. But it is fair to say we are looking quite threatening in the early stages of this one. There is another highlight happening off the back of that previous one. At the moment the ball is down our end as we look to play out from the back, but Fallon now starts to make some headway down this right hand side. We do lose out on possession there, and Wright will get it here for our Scottish opposition. O'Hara with a good chance, but thankfully can't beat Johns there from a tight angle, and that will do it here with about halfway through the first half. The scoreline still 1-0, but just as I was about to wrap up that highlight, we have another one start. Pepper trying to pepper that far post, but unfortunately Miller there with one of those diving clearances with his head. They do look quite nice, to be fair. And a good chance here for Fallon to find the back of the net. It's a good save there from the Dunfermline goalkeeper. But Robbie McDade is there to pick up the scraps. He will grab a double. And just over halfway through this first half, it's looking like we might make a second cup final for this season. Fallon indeed was onside. That was the thing I was wondering about during that highlight. Good save from the goalkeeper, but unfortunately takes a bit of a rough deflection off the inside of the post, and McDade makes it 2-0 Linfield. And we have another highlight starting here at the 27-minute mark. They clear that through their goalkeeper, and Logan starts to make his way down that left-hand side. A little bit of a different position for him today. Now Cooper inside the box. It takes a big deflection, but still finds Robbie McDade. He puts that one in the back of the net through his head, and he grabs a hat-trick inside the first half hour, and that makes it 3-0. And surely now we can already book our place in that Challenge Cup final against Partick Thistle off the back of a less than half-hour hat-trick from Robbie McDade to put us 3-0 up. And only a few minutes off the back of that third goal, yet again we are in possession off the back of a clearance from our Scottish League One opposition. We do get the ball back now inside their half off the back of a little bit of aerial ping pong. Fallon here gets a chance to put that one in the mixer again for McDade, the goalkeeper there. Probably should be doing better, Woods, but it still goes through his hands and finds the back of the net, and surely that will wrap things up. 4-0 just past the half-hour mark, doing some good work yet again. Down this right-hand side, McDade actually does pretty well to get this on target, retreating, but the goalkeeper should be doing better, but we don't mind. 4-0, only a third of the way through the game. And that is half-time in this Challenge Cup semi-final. We are absolutely blowing Dunfermline Athletic away in this one. 4-0 thanks to 4 first-half goals from Robbie McDade. So we go into the sheds full of confidence, and so much confidence, I think we can take off a few players who we might just want to save for a start in that League Cup final coming up in the second game of today's episode against Larne. So Robbie McDade in that form, we are definitely going to take off. Ignas Stankovic can come on for him, good old Stanky at 17 years old. And also Kemi Palmer is a player who seems to be quite injury prone, even though we haven't tested that out too much. We don't want to. Jake Kane can come on for him in the second half. We'll get it underway with a very nice 4-0 lead. And not too long into the second half, we have our first highlight here. It is a throw-in inside the final third. Pepper puts this one to Fallon inside the box. We try and link up there with young Stanky, but they do clear that, and Callagher is able to find Logan in the middle. We try and play a ball over the top there for Stewart. Big chance, but unfortunately misses the target. So still 4-0. And only a few minutes off the back of that first highlight of the second half, we are in possession yet again, albeit it doesn't take us long there to give possession back to Dunfermline Athletic, who no doubt will want to do a lot better in the second half than they did in the first. And O'Hara will get in behind our defence here. It is not the quickest centre-back partnership, with Callagher and Logue being quite slow, and O'Hara there has made the most of it, and they do get a goal in this one, albeit hopefully just a consolation goal, albeit there is still around about 40 minutes left in this one, but a good finish. But we are still in a good position, 4-1 up early in the second half. And only a few minutes off the back of that goal, which Dunfermline did get back, we have a free kick. Cooper tries to put that one in the mixer there for Stanky, but Dunfermline do quite well to head that one away. But we are still in possession, albeit not for too long, and they might get a chance to do something here on the counter-attack. Yet again, O'Hara, too much pace for our centre-backs, and all of a sudden, this could get a little bit interesting. We're not quite there off the back of that break at half-time. We'll tell the boys to go to a more balanced mentality, because they do just look to have the upper hand here so far in the second half. O'Hara just sitting on our defensive line and has too much pace for our centre-backs, and that makes it 4-2, 10 minutes into the second half. And only a few minutes off the back of that second goal to Dunfermline Athletic, there is a goal kick here to us at the hour mark, but yet again they might be on the attack. Logan there, not a good clearing header, because Millen finds himself in space here down the right-hand side. Another goal here would make this very, very interesting. With a half hour left, Wright gets the header off, but thankfully goes just over the bar, so it does remain 4-2 in our favour. And we've just entered the last 10 minutes of this game, so thankfully we're just able to stem that flow a little bit off the back of that hot start in this half to Dunfermline Athletic, albeit they do get the ball back there as we were on the attack, but thankfully our centre-backs that time are able to deal with the danger, albeit not under a lot of pressure. It's a little bit givey away there. We do get the ball back, but then Stanky can't quite link up with Fallon, but then McLean, good header for us to get possession back, and we'll look to build from the back. Yet again, Jake Kane, who's come off the bench for the second half, apparently playing quite well on a green rating, even though we are losing this half by a scoreline of 2-0, but that will definitely secure our place in the final of this Challenge Cup against Partick Thistle. It's a good individual effort, that one from Cammy Logan, this time playing at left back, and that will surely give us the result here off the back of a little bit of a sketchy second half. Logan just outside the box, good finish there, just inside that far post to make it 5-2. And off the back of that, I think we are going to make one more substitution. It's our last one for this cup competition where we can only make 3 substitutions. Noah Logue will be starting that League Cup final against Larne, so Mazida Gumbo can come on for him off the back of grabbing that 3-goal buffer. And we are in injury time in this one, and there's one more highlight here for Dunfermline. It's a penalty inside the box. Can't argue with that one. Stewart has pushed him, so thankfully we do have that 3-goal buffer now, so it's not going to make too much of an impact, but certainly that was a bit of a sloppy second half. We did give them way back into this game, but thankfully that goal to Cammy Logan should have been enough for us to make our way through to this Challenge Cup final. Gilmore picks up his first goal of the season from the penalty spot. Quite a good penalty, even though the goalkeeper does go the right way, but hopefully we see out the remaining seconds of this one. We do. I thought we had that game in the bag at halftime, hence those changes that we did make. We did let them back in the game a little bit though. O'Hara had a pretty good second half just sitting in behind of our centre backs and had the pace advantage on them, but thankfully we did enough in that first half, and also that goal to Cammy Logan in the second half means that we did pick up 5 goals. And if you do that, you're usually going to win games of football. So a good way for us to go in to that cup final against Larne, the League Cup final here in Northern Ireland. Hopefully we're a bit more solid at the back in that one, but McDaid with a very good first half. Hopefully he can replicate that against Larne in the next game, because we are going to be playing a League Cup final against those guys in just a few seconds. And here are the team sheets for this Northern Ireland League Cup final. There we are in pretty good form, and also back to our best 11 in terms of the stars. Our bench a little bit affected there by an injury to Charlie Sayers and suspension to a Gumbo, but still pretty good. There are Larne playing a 4-4-2, as you can see, not in the greatest form, so hopefully we can make the most of that and pick up our first silverware here at Linfield. And yet again we have a highlight immediately from the kickoff in this one. This time we are the team with the ball from the centre circle. Hopefully we can make a similar start to what we did in that previous game, and we play another long ball over the top there for McDaid, and it's a dead ringer. Cammy Logan plays a long ball forward. Ferguson tries to come out for it, doesn't get there, and only around 20 seconds into this League Cup final we grab a 1-0 lead here at Bet McLean Park, the home of Glentoran, which is another nice added bonus for us. Not too much travel. It's a little bit of an interesting finish that, but Ferguson made a bit of a meal of it, and we grab a very early 1-0 lead in the League Cup final. And just inside the 10-minute mark, we have our next highlight in this final. It's a corner. It's a bit messy inside the inner box, and Robbie McDaid is there to poke that one home. He is an absolute fire in these games in today's episode. The initial header from O'Connor was either saved from Ferguson or took a pretty big deflection off of the post. I think it's a little bit of both, and McDaid is there like a good poacher to poke that one home, and we grab a very early 2-0 lead in this League Cup final. And that is half time in this Northern Irish League Cup final. We take a 2-0 lead into the sheds there with that early double to Robbie McDaid. He's performing well off the back of those 4 goals in the first half against Dunfermline Athletic in that Challenge Cup semi-Larne, yet to really offer too much, and very happy with how this is going despite the lack of highlights from that 10-minute mark. We don't mind with that 2-goal buffer, and we'll get things back underway with no changes, and hopefully can bring home our first bit of silverware here at Linfield. And we've gone all the way forward to the 77-minute mark. Still no highlights in the second half. It's been a pretty quiet game, truth be told, but we've got a lot of players here on red hearts. We did also go to a balanced mentality at the hour mark just to make sure that we don't blow this late, kind of like what we almost did against Dunfermline Athletic in that previous game. So we're taking off all these players who are down to a red heart, just making sure we have some fresh bodies on the pitch for these last 13 minutes. And hopefully we can see out this result, as we do still hold a 2-0 lead. And finally we get another highlight in this game, albeit it's taken us until the 91st minute. So you'd like to think we're going to see this out now and pick up our first bit of silverware here at Linfield. It's our first cup success as well, off the back of winning 2 titles in leagues at Banbridge Town. Good chance there for Aaron Lyle to wrap that up off of the bench, but a good save that time from Ferguson in goal for Larne. We only have 1 minute of added time left in this game. Thankfully, we also had that earlier game, because this one has been full of very little action, albeit 2 goals from 3 highlights it looks like it is going to be by the looks of it, and I don't really mind because we are going to pick up our first trophy here at Linfield, and hopefully we can pick up a few more as well, considering we are in a very, very strong position in the Premiership, and as well as that, we have made our way through to a Challenge Cup final, taking on Partick Thistle from the Championship over there. I'd like to think we can beat them based on our recent form, although Larne here are in position trying to get something going late in this game, but we do win the ball back. We are in the dying embers of this game now, and that will be it in the end. It was not the most entertaining game, I'm fully aware of that, but those 2 early goals to Robbie McDade did prove decisive. He was on an absolute one today, scoring 6 goals across those 2 games, and we pick up our first trophy here at Linfield off the back of, in the end, a pretty comfortable 2-0 win over Larne in the Northern Irish League Cup final. Yay! And back in the inbox off the back of those 2 games in today's episode, and is our first trophy here at Linfield. Obviously, I struggled to get something out during that trophy lift, but it's hard to when there's a game with only 3 highlights in it. Didn't really give me much to work with there. Football Manager, but a good bit of work there from us in today's episode, picking up 2 more wins, and we pick up our first trophy here at Linfield. It is the 9th time that Linfield have won this competition, albeit it has been about 6 years since they last did so in the Save universe, up now in 2025. The last time they won it does look like it was back in 2019, and everyone at the club quite happy with our work there, doing some stuff that they weren't expecting us to do until the end of the next season. Robbie McDade was in great form today, and the review does see us lift this title, and very good work there for us to pick up our first cup trophy of the season. We should make it a double in the Premiership, because looking at the league table, we are 14 points clear of Glentoran and Coleraine with a game in hand. If we win that game in hand and keep our form going, we might even wrap that one up before we do get into the Championship group phase. And as well as that, we are still in the Irish Cup. Got that quarterfinal coming up against Institute, who are from the 3rd tier here in Northern Ireland. So we at the very least should get through that round. And off the back of that, I think the teams that we're probably going to be worried about, it's probably just Glentoran, because Larne and Crusaders not having the best seasons these days. So I think we're probably the favourites to pick up that Irish Cup, all going well. And to add to that, we do also have that Challenge Cup final, which is coming up against Partick Thistle. They currently find themselves 7th in the Championship there in Scotland, and we have beaten teams already in that competition like St Johnstone and Arbroath, who are sitting 3rd and 4th on the table. So it does look like it might be a slightly easier task than what we have taken on in the earlier rounds of that competition. But that will do it for today's episode. A good start to the week here as we pick up our first trophy at Linfield. So if you did enjoy that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well, in terms of when we'll come back for the next episode. I think we'll come back towards the end of the regular league season. We might play the last game of the season against Larne, just in case there is a chance that a win there could mean that we do lift that title before we do get into the Championship group phase. If that is not a possibility, I think we'll just come back and play that final against Partick Thistle, but you'll definitely get that game from Rugby Park in Scotland as we do look for our second trophy of the season in our hunt for a potential quadruple. At the very least, it should be a double with the situation we do find ourselves in the Premiership. So coming up next time, definitely that game against Partick Thistle, and maybe also a Premiership game if we can secure the title in that. And until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.